it's something about weathering a storm. It's something about going through that. So a lot of times we like to think that when it's a blessing from God, when we get a gift from God, we always think that it's supposed to come just pretty and a glitz and glam and a bow. And sometimes it is like that, y'all. But sometimes the blessing that God gives us, the gift that he gives us, sometimes you have to dust that thing off a little bit. Sometimes you may have to bust out the windows and put new windows, new door frames and stuff like that. Sometimes you may have to put some fertilizer on there. Fertilizer is like crap, right? So it smells a bit crappy. It may look a bit crappy, but after a while, the fertilizer being on it, doesn't it grow grass? I'm not too sure, so don't quote me on that. But after a while, it grows grass or something like that, right? It takes some time, right? So sometimes the blessing may not always look like we think it's supposed to look. Sometimes we may have to weather that thing a little bit. Sometimes we may have to stay planted a little bit in order for us to see the blessing within its full capacity. You know, but the enemy wanted me to run out of my blessing. He wanted me to leave. And I was on the bricks of leaving the very first day. I was on the bricks. I'm just like, I don't understand why God would give me something. And then I have to go through all of this, through A, B, and C. I was so hurt. I was so hurt, y'all. I was so hurt because I'm just like, I was hurt and I was confused. But I also know that God is not an author of confusion at the same time. So it just didn't make sense. Right? But then I kept asking God. I was like, God, please give me strength for this. Please strengthen my faith for this. Because I just know that you didn't give me something for me to go through this. So one thing I do believe, if God called you to it, he will bring you through it, period. Another thing I thought about is that it's like when you're going through stuff like that, I believe it's James 1, chapter 3 and 4, or James 1, chapter 4 and 5. I'll put it on here as well, y'all. But it's like he says, count it all joy. That your faith is tested when you're going through obstacles. That's when your faith is tested. And I knew that's what the enemy was doing, because I was so mad and I was so hurt and I just couldn't understand. But it says somewhere at the bottom of that verse that do not get out of it prematurely. Let it do it let it do its work, so that you don't end up deficient for it. Deficient. So so don't get out of it prematurely. So basically, if I would have left that apartment, that was me giving up. That was me like, okay, I'm out, I give up, and I would have got out of it prematurely. And that's what the enemy wanted. He wanted me to leave my blessing because what I was going through, I didn't think it was a blessing anymore, because I was going through all these obstacles and trials, tribulations. But sometimes we like to think that it's supposed to be all pretty glitz and glam with a big old bow on it. Sometimes it's like that, but sometimes it's not. And when I felt like it was not, because things kept happening back to back, and I was becoming overwhelmed, and I was like, okay, my faith is starting to waver a little bit. I'm going through all of these things. And that's what the enemy wants. He wants to kill, steal, and destroy, taking my peace, making me feel uneasy, making me feel uncomfortable, not even being able to live in my own place. Right? It was just so much, but it's something about you sticking the storm. It's something about you weathering a storm.